Now, for many of you out there, running your own brewery would be a dream come true. But three Portsmouth lads are now facing up to the reality of beer making. At a time when a number of pubs in the city have had to close their doors, they're set to open their very own brew house in the heart of Pompey in just a few weeks' time. I got a sneak peek and heard the rather unusual story of how it came to be. Beer, a staple of British life. The familiar image of men sitting in a pub, nursing a pint, discussing their dreams. And that's not a million miles away from how three Pompey lads decided to start up their own brewing business.
We made some beer for a stag do, for a friend's stag do. It was over on the Isle of Wight, and we'd sort of had some experience before in home brewing, making sort of very small scale, sort of, simple beers as you used to sort of get in kits and, from any sort of homebrew shop. And we started doing that, and so we basically got a lot of this beer together and took it over to the Isle of Wight for a stag do. We took 240 pints, I think it was, something like that. And so a lot of guys all sat there drinking beer, and we just thought it was going to be a bit of a laugh, and we made a nice humiliating pump clip for the stag. And it was just a bit of fun, really. And the guys that were there, some of them were landlords for a few pubs, and they said to us, well, we could sell this beer, it's good enough to do that. So that's when we decided, okay, well, maybe we can step out from just doing this for stag do's and weddings and things like that. Maybe we could actually come up with our own brand. So we came up with the company name, which was Staggeringly Good, which has multiple meanings, obviously heralding from the stag do stuff that we started with, and also with the sort of staggering, drinking too much beer kind of thing. And we kind of thought, well, okay, the Stegosaurus somehow, because we started on the Jurassic coastline and the dinosaur thing sort of found its way into the branding a little bit.
The brewery isn't in the most glamorous of locations, in an industrial unit behind Fratton Park. It's a big risk for the guys who've expended money, sweat and time on the venture, and even given up their jobs for the project.
It's terrifying in that it's pretty enormous what we've done and what we've achieved so far, and it's just, you put an awful lot of expectations on yourself, awful lot of pressure on yourselves to make the best product you can as well, and it's just kind of turning that passion into something that can actually sustain you financially and otherwise, and the otherwise is probably the most important part, because we've all been doing jobs over the last sort of 10-15 years that have satisfied us to a greater or lesser extent, and now we're doing something that we know we will absolutely love.
And of course there's always the danger that the trio's close relationship will be put under strain by the sheer scale of the undertaking.
Like it gets pretty tense when you've got three passionate people talking about the same thing, their opinions of what it should and shouldn't be. But actually, we went into business with each other knowing who everybody was and what their attitudes are, and we haven't had any arguments as such.
Well, the good thing about having three people is, when you have a vote, obviously it works well. If there's just two of you, you can, kind of, if you both disagree, then you're stuck. Whereas with a third person, we can always have the vote, and I think that helps a lot, having the third person to outvote the other person, really. So it works well.
The guys hope the beer's distinctive Jurassic branding and of course its taste will make it a monster hit.
I don't think you should take beer too seriously. You go out, you have a drink with friends, and it's about enjoying it. And some people maybe overanalyse it, but at the end of the day, beer is beer. Go out, drink it, enjoy it.
Ultimately, though, it will be the punters that decide whether the idea is indeed staggeringly good. Charlotte Briere-Edney, that's Solent.